All right, welcome to Talking About Sports, the Carolina's #1 podcast. We're here at the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill with just getting at the tail end of the lead lap, William Wilson and Mountaineer Mike Freer. Kevin Tolbert here as always. And guys, Carolina Panthers looked pretty good despite William Wilson looking great, the best man in podcasting, but always has seemingly a harsh criticism of Cam Newton. And I think they're looking good. Cam has been leading the way. That in the defense, Mountaineer Mike, what do you think?
I think going back to the fourth quarter of the Philly game 2 games ago was I think that was Cam's finest hour as an NFL quarterback.
You don't want to go back to the Redskins game because the Redskins did win that game. And
Absolutely.
Now, before we get to William Wilson, I know he wants to probably give us some brutal, constructive criticism of Cam Newton. Let's go to our good friend Vashti Hurd of the Carolina Blitz. She's got some analysis.
At 5-2, the Carolina Panthers aren't worried about outside distractions like family and trick-or-treaters. They're worried about success. Cam Newton says success is the biggest distraction, but playing here at home and making sure to stay in a routine will be helpful with keeping the team focused.
That's the biggest distraction. It's the biggest distraction. Success is. Because when you're defeated or when you face adversity, that's when you start turning over, every rock, every stone, every pan, every pot, everything, just trying to find a way. But when you're winning and you're succeeding, a lot of things gets brushed up under the rug, and over time you see a big pile under the rug. At the end of the day, we just have to make sure that we're doing everything that has got us to this point and still focusing in on and understanding what our job and our responsibility is. When you get to sleep in the same bed, the same room number, you don't have to necessarily travel. I do love traveling, with the team, but, granted, you get, I think, an extra day to kind of prepare. It's more time to walk through on Saturdays rather than, getting in when we do get in. And then you can't forget just the ambiance of playing in Uptown Charlotte. Da bang. You know what I'm saying? It's something that I've been looking forward to since I've came here, and seeing the crowd and so many people get so involved. And I know people, we mean so much to so many people, and I understand that. We are one of the few teams that gets the representation of multiple states. And to be honest with you, I love it. I love it, and expect for the crowds to keep getting bigger and bigger, the cheers to keep getting louder and louder, and you can expect the performance to keep getting better and better.
All right, now, William Wilson, we just heard from Cam Newton, and great report from Vashti Hurd. Cam was basically saying that you can't get too complacent. Yes, they've won. They've beaten the defending champs, and they beat a very good Baltimore Ravens team here. But a lot of times what Cam is saying is just because you're winning, there's still some things to work on.
There's always those technical difficulties. Yeah, there's always something to work on. Winning, that's my big mo. Big momentum. When you're winning, it's easier to keep winning once you start winning. The problem is if you start getting too complacent, get too comfortable, you start taking opponents for granted, you start picking out, well, we're this good. So what happens is you start looking at your schedule ahead of you, go, well, we should beat these guys. Our next big opponent is boom. And that's when you mess around and slip up, and something will happen, a guy take a play off, or he won't play as hard, people start getting hurt. All of a sudden you 1 or 2 injuries away from being between 15-1 and 1-15 could be 2 players. So you mess around and get a couple of bad moves, you get complacent, all of a sudden your season go from, how many times are the Chiefs and other teams like this start off 6-0 and don't make the playoffs?
Yeah. Will, do you need to get in the pits to repair, need some duct tape to repair the microphone? You need to make a pit stop? You need to get
sometimes you don't even need the car, the car keeps jumping out of gear, so you gotta hold it until you go in a pit stop. The next pit stop, we'll pull in and we'll make some adjustments.
Mountaineer Mike, I tell you who's a guy. In addition to what Cam and the offense is doing, I really think they showed a lot of balance last week. Curtis Samuel, McCaffrey, DJ Moore had a breakout game. Devin Funchess is still a threat. Greg Olsen, tremendous threat. Really a lot of balance on the offense, and the offensive line is giving Cam time to look around and make a lot of checkdowns.
Yeah, I think the unsung heroes of the season so far has been the offensive line. They've really done a great job opening up the running game, protecting Cam. It's really helped out everything out. I think, to Williams' point, you don't want to get complacent. I don't see this team getting complacent simply because if you haven't seen at least the last 5 quarters of what this offense under Norv Turner can do when you have the weapons like Greg Olsen, who I think is just an incredible key to this team, because it ends up being that safety net for Cam, and really is just, he's one of the best tight ends there is, but he really helps open everything else up, because now you got to start protecting against the tight end like you don't with other teams. I think if you don't see how this offense is progressing, all the weapons that it has and how it's starting to be used, that doesn't get you jazzed up to play every Sunday. I mean, you really have problems, and I don't think this Panthers team is one of those teams that has problems.
Right, I agree. I think the MVP of the Carolina Panthers this season is one Norvell Turner.
I agree.
And I said this last season. I said, Norv Turner, if you can't win with Norv Turner as the offensive coordinator, then Norv is not going to be the problem.
You can't win with him as a head coach, but you can win with him as an offensive coordinator.
But I ain't saying anything about him being an offensive head coach.
I'm just saying.
Offensive coordinator.
I'm just telling you that.
Because the fact of the matter is, and I said this last season, Mike, you guys were here. I said Norv Turner is proven. He's respected. He has a body of work. So if Cam can't do it on Norv Turner, that's a Cam Newton issue. Cause we may blame Mike Shula because he should have never been an offensive coordinator in the first place. Cam had a bunch of people who should have never been around him. They couldn't capitalize on his skill sets. Norv Turner, the offensive line is able to play better because Norv Turner put Cam and this offense in a position where they don't have to depend 100% on the offensive line. Because for a while, you knew Cam was going to be stifled, only be able to do so many things. So you could scheme against this offensive line. You could double up on them. You could find that weak spot. Now their weak spot shifts because their strong spot shift. They can move anybody anywhere because you don't know what Norv's going to do with Cam. And Cam brings so much versatility and athleticism, you can't sleep on Cam. Now they figured out a way to make, I call it a reverse Oreo formation. It's run CMC is Chris McCaffrey, Cam Newton, Greg Olsen. When Greg was hurt, Cam had to learn to depend on somebody else. He allowed that to be Christian McCaffrey. Now Greg is back. Now Cam got 2 people he feels extremely comfortable using that you have to capitalize on. And you have to capitalize on Cam, so that opens up the wide receivers.
Now, Mike, you mentioned something to us before the show about, let's say you're Carolina. Let's say you're Norvell Turner, and you're going to attack this Buccaneer defense, which has a very good defensive line and a good set of linebackers. What do? I mean, you mentioned something about their secondary not being all that great or maybe being somewhat porous.
Well, you're exactly right. The Bucs defense, especially up front, they do a good job of getting to the quarterback. They're really piled up the sacks.
Vita Vea, Gerald McCoy,
Yep.
JPP, you can't get a hand on
Absolutely.
JP.
But the thing about this team, and I looked it up this week, the Bucs defense, their pass defense, it goes beyond bad. It's absolutely
There's no Rondé
horrendous.
Barbers back there.
Apparently not. Opponents are completing 74% of their passes against the Bucs defense. Mm-hmm. The Bucs have had 266 passes thrown against them. How many interceptions do they have as a team?
So are you saying a guy like Clint Sterner could come in and complete passes against them?
I'm saying it won't take much. Cam could throw it left-handed this week, and I'd be stunned if he had an interception.
I had to get Clint Sterner in there one more time.
Now these are the kind of games, Mike, that scare me with the Panthers. That scare me with Cam. And here's why. And this is why I think the Norv Turner will make the biggest impact. Cam is going to rack up some ridiculous numbers this week.
He should.
He just is. What I'm hoping Riverboat Ron does, because I don't see Tampa Bay beating them. They just seem like just a basket case and just a jailbreak house right now. I would like to see Cam go in, get some numbers, get a solid win in, and bring in the backup guy. No risk taking a chance of him getting hurt for no real reason.
Well, there's a concern about his shoulder this week. He was held out of practice Wednesday, I believe, and
it's still a division game, and they play each other very close historically.
That's
right.
true.
They play historically, but I think this year Tampa Bay is historically bad, though.
I think the success they had at the beginning of the year, piling up the yards, they still have a top-notch offense. I believe they average the most yards per game in the league. but a lot of that was based early on in the season.
Yeah.
They're a turnover machine on offense, and they don't get turnovers on defense. This league is so big on turnovers and capitalizing on them. If you turn it over with this team and you can't protect against the pass, I don't see how. I'll be stunned if the Panthers don't win this game by a
I'd
couple
like to
of
see
scores.
C.J. Anderson finally get involved, get some touches, because he brings a dimension that they haven't used. He's a bigger back than Christian McCaffrey in terms of thickness and size, and I think this is the kind of game that you could actually pound them, soften them up, go play action, and then get C.J. Anderson involved.
I agree. I think they're going to try. I think they're going to try with the running game, and I personally question exactly how strong Cam's shoulder is. So I don't know if he can wing it down the field like he did last week. He had the most yards per attempt of any game this season, about 7.5, which is a season high for him. And so you would think that would continue this week against a team that's bad as Tampa Bay on defense.
You would hope.
But if he's really having shoulder issues, it's going to be a lot underneath stuff, which can work as well too. But I think they want to set the running game intact and then set up the play action. I totally agree. I think that's their MO every week. To be honest.
I agree. And before we go any further, I want to give a quick shout out to some of our listeners.
You got fans, Will. We know that.
My guy Kevin Porter's in.
He's always in.
Exactly. Kevin's a very dedicated
Very loyal.
listener. Got Carl Glover, the Reverend Carl Glover. Y'all can make sure I keep on my P's and Q's. Former Carolina Panther Quentin Teal.
Nice.
Quentin Teal from Coastal Carolina, my man.
Always supports the Clothier Classic. David Chapman, Chuck Norris, the stunt double.
Yep.
That's the real thing, not just a
Love
joke.
David.
It's for real.
That's awesome.
Natasha Crawford. So we got people tuning in. Appreciate it. And me and Kevin are actually agreeing this week so
I know.
far.
My man Nate Bristow down in Walterboro, South Carolina, of Tommy's Auto and Diesel watches every
me
week.
and Kevin Porter always disagree at some point. We'll disagree at some point again, but we'll take the win for right now. But I think, like I said, if Cam does have some shoulder injuries, why risk him getting further hurt if you don't have to? Get a comfortable lead if that's the way the game goes, and do so. Pull him out because you got a good backup quarterback. Let's get some depth in case that shoulder turns into something later on.
Who's got a good backup? Who's got a good
The
backup?
Panthers backup.
Who is
okay.
it? Do you know him?
Isn't it Derek Anderson still there?
No,
Or is
he's
he
with
gone
Buffalo
now?
and he's got a concussion. So you don't even know
Well,
who
there you
it's this
go.
guy.
Heineke can play.
It's this guy named
Taylor Heineke can
You guys,
what's his name? Sam Heineke or
Look, you guys bring me in.
Taylor
for this-
Heineke can play.
no?
ball.
But I'm
Right.
just saying the guy's unproven. He came in through what he's 1 for 1. He's hot.
So that still makes my point. That makes
He's
my
1 for
point
1.
exactly. If you get
got a
lead
first
up,
down.
okay, that makes my point. If you get ahead, let him come in and get some real wartime.
I'm with
real
you there,
fight time
Will.
Experience where it's not all the pressure's not on him.
I don't see this team being worried about complacency. I don't see this team being complacent because I think they're feeding off the momentum, not just from last week. I think that fourth quarter against the Eagles, like I mentioned, I think that was Cam's finest hour as an NFL quarterback, that comeback, and I think it has carried the momentum through the last
They have a
week against the
chance.
Ravens.
This
And-
Panther team has a chance to win and put off several wins in a row because they're going to need them. That Saints team is a good team.
Absolutely.
And they finish 2 out of 3, the last 2 out of the 3, home Saints,
Yep.
home Falcons, at the Saints.
Yep.
They better be I'm saying they're going to probably need to
Right.
14-2, maybe 13-3, 12-4 at the least
And
to
the
win the
meantime,
division.
they get Tampa Bay twice.
Yep.
They get Cleveland once.
Right.
They get Seattle at home.
They got to win that.
They got to go to Detroit, which isn't
That's
an
a
easy
very winnable game.
But yeah, the schedule favors them to really build a lot of momentum ahead in those last 3 games. I agree with that. And you don't want your season or have to go on the road in the playoffs because you didn't win this game this weekend.
Exactly, and I agree with you, Mike. I don't think complacency is going to be the issue. Reed, I want to see him pull Cam out if his shoulder is injured. Get a lead and rest that shoulder. Let him get some more rest. Don't let him take an unnecessary hit for no reason.
And this is the wrong team. To your point earlier, this is the wrong team to play with if you have a shoulder injury because, as we mentioned, the Bucs can, for all their
D-line and linebackers are as good as anybody in the league.
They can get after you.
Exactly, and that's why I'm saying I want to see it get hurt. Now, I think you're talking about the defense. The defense is getting a lot more rest this season. They've gotten a lot most of these seasons because their Panthers don't have a lot of 3 and outs and stuff like this. So they're extending the ball. McCaffrey can get those first downs. So the defense, they got time to look through. If they did something right or did something wrong, they got time to look on the sidelines, figure it out, get some rest, catch their breath, get some Gatorade, get some oxygen, get some treatment, whatever they need, and can go back in almost like they're fresh again.
Yeah, I agree.
Mike, you're a numbers guy. How about a guy who doesn't per se. He had a good game. He's had a lot of good games. He's an under-the-radar guy. His shirt's untucked. He's got a big stomach. He's on the roster every year. He's in the rotation every game, and he's always seemingly in the backfield making plays, and he caused a fumble last week. Kyle Love, this guy's always around the ball. I'm a big fan of Kyle Love.
The hit he made and caused the fumble last week was outstanding. That was really a great play. He's having a solid season. He's a solid player in the defense, causing turnovers, which we talked about.
Always getting in there.
It's a big deal in the NFL, causing turnovers and avoiding making mistakes. The Panthers don't make a lot of mistakes so far this year on offense, and they're getting turnovers on defense. And I agree with you. He's having a great year. That play last week was outstanding.
And guys like K.K. Short, a guy who's in the Pro Bowl every year, making the big money, he's getting a lot of attention. He and Julius Peppers are getting double team. Wes Horton, Dontari Poe. These are guys that are Uday. What's the guy's name? The guy from who came from the NFL Europe or NFL Africa or whatever the program is. Uday, Ibe Ubada, who plays special teams. This guy
Good catch, Kevin.
He could play. This guy is like probably 6'5", about 260. He doesn't have an ounce of fat on him. Plays special teams, and he's like a gunner. He's a defensive lineman. This is just tremendous. This defensive line and their rotation, to Will's point, is being the coaches. The scheme has full confidence in their entire rotation of guys that they're keeping everyone fresh because they're all playing.
Well, this is going to be an interesting game too because, with Fitzpatrick in the lineup this week at quarterback for the Bucs, the ball's going to be thrown around the field. They have all the yards, like you mentioned. They're the top team in total yards, but they're also going to have the opportunity to get a lot of turnovers and beef up your stats with an interception or two, or collect a fumble like they did last week. So they're going to be tested, but they're also going to have a chance to make big plays.
All right, we're gonna before we go, Will, I want to get your take on how Carolina is going to look at the receivers and tight ends for Tampa Bay. But first, we're here at the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill. This is Talking About Sports.
At Heslop Wealth Advisors, our goal is to help small businesses develop quality retirement plans for their employees through our Lunch and Learn seminars. We provide lunch and learning tools to help your company succeed and unmatched customer service.
All right, welcome back to Talking About Sports. We're here at the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill with Mountaineer Mike Freer, William Wilson. And before we went to break, I just want to know, either one of you guys can jump in. Ryan Fitzpatrick is starting at quarterback for the Bucs. Jameis Winston ineffective last week. Dirk Koetter going with what he thinks is going to be the hot hand. Fitzpatrick was hot to start the season when Winston was serving a disciplinary suspension. I will say this, on offense, I don't know about the running backs and offensive line for Tampa are not that good. But they do have good receivers. And Deshaun Jackson, the guy Evans from Texas A&M. They got the tight end that used to be at Alabama.
O.J. Howard.
They have good receivers, and they're big. They're tall.
Yeah.
Everyone except for Deshaun Jackson, they have tall guys. That's going to represent, if Fitzpatrick can get time, those receivers are good. The tight end is good. It's going to put a lot of pressure on the secondary and the linebackers for Carolina.
Exactly. And you can use Deshaun Jackson. Where he lacks the height, he makes up in speed.
Absolutely.
So, you can use Deshaun Jackson in that slot route if you need to. Just keep your defense honest, and he could eat you alive before you know it. A 5-yard little dump off could turn into a 60-yard run. So, and Fitzpatrick, I think Fitzpatrick, as far as the NFL quarterback, is a better NFL quarterback than Jameis Winston.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's smarter. He reads defenses quicker. And I think the team on the field responds to him better You're going to see a different Tampa Bay team this week than you did last week.
You almost let them
So-
all the way back last week. I mean, Jameis
Yeah.
was terrible. 4 interceptions.
But why-
and they brought in Fitzpatrick, and he almost brought them all the way back
Right.
against the
So
Bengals.
Carolina cannot sleep. The defense can't sleep on Fitzpatrick, because if you do, he's one of those guys. It depends on, he's Jekyll and Hyde. He can eat you up and score 31 on you, or he may throw 3 interceptions.
Will,
So
why do
really
you
don't
say
know.
that Ryan Fitzpatrick is better? Is it because he can read defenses better? He's is a more savvy veteran, a guy who's been in the league maybe 15 years versus. I think Jameis Winston has better physical tools, and his arm may be stronger. But I think you make a good point about being able to read defenses quicker.
It don't matter if you could throw a football 95 yards on one knee. It doesn't matter if you can't make a complete pass under a pass rush. Physical tools are great as long
Kevin
as
Tolbert,
those physical
he
tools
says he can
are
do that. By the
coupled
way,
with, mental acumen. I'd rather be
Right.
smart. It's an old saying: "Old age and treachery beats youth and skill every time."
There's
So
also,
I got
there's
to
also
think
leadership.
you can outplay.
so I got a shot, is what you're saying, right? Well,
Depends on what you're going for.
all right. just saying. I'm just saying.
I think leadership is a big deal as far as
It's come in handy lately. I can tell you that.
I think leadership is a big deal with the quarterback.
Absolutely.
And these days, we talked about a couple of weeks ago off air. It's like, who exactly is Jameis Winston leading these days? They're following Fitzpatrick,
Yeah.
good or bad. Who is Jameis Winston leading these days?
I don't know. All I can tell you is
Nobody.
I think Fitzpatrick and Ketter are both going to be gone. Winston is probably still going to be on the roster next year in Tampa, I believe. They're going to have a new coach, maybe a new GM, because this crew they got down in Tampa are not getting it done. And in the NFL, is not for long, as Jerry Glanville
Well,
said.
they were
Will.
getting it done to begin the year
Well,
with Fitzpatrick and.
The other teams made adjustments.
That's right. Now they're going back to Fitzpatrick and see what they can do. I don't disagree with it. I'm just saying it's not. I don't think it's all on Fitzpatrick.
It's easier to get another coach and GM than it is to get a franchise quarterback.
Oh, I
and I
agree. That's why it
think
happens.
Winston, maybe like Will says, a guy like not saying Norvell Turner, but a guy like Norvell Turner, a good offensive mind, could come in. Maybe a Hugh Jackson, who's suddenly on the street, could be a new offensive coordinator as part of a new regime that could come into Tampa. I think Mike McCarthy's going to get fired in Green Bay. He could be the next Browns coach, could be the next Bucs coach. He could bring in a new offense, a new set of eyes.
I think Mike McCarthy is the only one that wasn't traded by the Packers this week. I think
Stephen
they got
A.
rid of
Smith
everybody else.
says that Aaron Rodgers should demand a trade.
Oh, we'll see if he does that. We're gonna give a quick shout out to Natasha Crawford, as we said earlier. She's been pretty vocal today, so we appreciate that. She's a very, very loyal listener. Irvin Patterson has tuned in. YN Familia, I don't know who that is, but thank you. And my mama is back. Della Lamb is back once again to make sure.
When's she coming into town?
I'm hoping I may bring her in for Thanksgiving.
All right,
so if I
good.
bring her in,
Well, I'm out of town
I'll
that
bring her
week.
up.
Figures.
All right. I'll try to get her up here one day. Get her to come on the show.
All right, that'd
Hey,
be
Mom,
good.
love
We got to
you.
have your mom
Get her to
on
come on
here.
the show.
That'd be awesome. My mom's in the hospital, by the way. And I just
Oh,
saw a
man.
call. She's could be getting out today, so we're hoping.
Speedy recovery, man.
Yeah,
Speedy
we're hoping
recovery.
that things are good. She
Yes.
just called. I noticed that. I have to call her after the show, but we're hoping that things turn around. Her car was in the shop, and that kind of put her back with that Infinity bill coming out, so that didn't make her feel good. Made the heart go a little bit funny, but she went behind the wall, but everything's looking good now. What do you think about comparing the situation in Cleveland? They cleaned house. They got a new guy. That's Greg Williams taking over for Hugh Jackson, the guy who was suspended for a year for putting a bounty down on opponents. So apparently Cleveland's cleaning house. I think that's not going to be the only place that the house that gets cleaned.
There's a reason teams like Cleveland and Tampa Bay, and for the longest time the Bengals, were where they were at the bottom. It's just poor decisions from the top, and it filters down. It goes from the owner to who you hire as the team president, to who you hire as the GM, to who makes the right picks. And look at how the dysfunction is in Cleveland. Hugh Jackson has a really solid rep as a coach. You heard it all the time. He can't win in Cleveland. He really got a whole heck of a
Actually,
lot.
Sam White said that. And by the way, when I think of Cleveland, I think of Sam White as coach of the Bengals. When everybody's throwing stuff on the field, he took the microphone, the PA, and says,
Yes.
anytime you see anybody throw anything on the field, you get a security guard, you report them, you get them thrown out of here. You don't live in Cleveland, you live in Cincinnati. That's words to live by.
That was hardly an endorsement for the city, but I get his point.
And I agree with Mike 100%. I have a couple of clients that played for the Browns, or they were drafted by the Browns, and then went other places. And both of them said the same thing. Said, William, I had no idea how poorly the Browns' upper management was until I went to another team. The new team, they know who I am. We have conversations with the owners. They say, I went to Cleveland. I met the owner one time. Didn't meet any upper management people. They weren't involved. It was just a dysfunctional, hot mess. Hugh Jackson is a good coach.
Yeah, very good coach.
But you need well, for example, Bill Belichick was in Cleveland.
Right.
Look what he's doing in Pittsburgh. I mean, New England.
Right.
So you look, some places are just toxic environments.
I agree.
And you got a great quarterback, a great young quarterback like Baker Mayfield, who will be destroyed in Cleveland, who could be really good. So I think
they got a lot of young players and a lot of draft picks coming up. This is a gold mine waiting to be mined, but it's unless they get new miners, and it's not going to happen.
Right. This is a very well-stocked pantry without an executive chef.
But here's the thing. It's a perfect example. You just said it exactly. You got number one pick in Baker Mayfield, who looks pretty good for his rookie season. You got a lot of young kids that you drafted over the years. And you got a coach that you wanted in there who you made suffer through an 0-16 ridiculous season. And now you get through not even midway through the season, and all of a sudden he's got to go. You don't give him a chance to.
I think that was more of a.
But look how many quarterbacks Cleveland went through. They don't stick with anything.
And now you have one, and you have a coach that's good with these guys, and then you just cast them aside.
From what I read, that what was attributed to the owner Jimmy Haslam, who I think owns either the Flying Circle J's, Pilots or whatever. He said there was too much discord between offensive coordinator Todd Haley and Hugh Jackson. There was too much infighting and discord, and he said, I'm going to get rid of you both.
That's stupid. That's like saying my left hand hurts, my right hand hurts, so I cut both of them off. That's just ridiculous. Either get them to work together.
Start becoming inept at being an offensive coordinator. He just came from Pittsburgh, where you had Antonio Brown, where you had Le'Veon Bell, where you had Ben Roethlisberger. I think he did okay there.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden it's on him too.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to let people either work stuff out. Big shout, thanks for joining Avery Belton.
This is why the Browns are the Browns.
Yeah.
This is why they're never a threat, no matter how good they look.
You don't live in Cleveland, you live in Cincinnati. And to Will's point, so was that what Jason Pierre-Paul did? He didn't like his thumb and his couple of his fingers, so he blew them off? Is that what you're saying?
No, that was another stupid move. That's another removal from a stupid decision. That's what that was. Matter of fact, Jason Pierre-Paul's hand is indicative of the Cleveland Browns. A bunch of destructive moves coming from poor decisions.
So he should play for the Cleveland Browns, is what you're saying. It makes sense to me. I don't know.
Considering where he is, it could be an upgrade.
We got nothing else left for this, so we'll save some for college football.
We'll come back and talk swag at some point.
We got college football. Maryland made two moves, and one was hopefully corrected by the second. So we got ACC football, SEC. I don't know what the Razorbacks are doing, but I'm sure Will bring us up.
Losing.
This is Talking About Sports from the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill.
At Heslop Wealth Advisors, our goal is to help small businesses develop quality retirement plans for their employees through our Lunch and Learn seminars. We provide lunch and learning tools to help your company succeed and unmatched customer service.
All right, welcome back to Talking About Sports. We're here at the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill with Mountaineer Mike Freer and William Wilson. And college football, the University of Maryland has decided that they have reinstated their former head coach and then fired him the next day after a student protest and a player revolt. And Mountaineer Mike, why don't you bring up the listeners as to the background of this, and then we can talk about what is going to take place moving forward.
Well, I mean, basically it all stems back from they had an investigation surrounding the death of football player Jordan McNair during the spring workouts when he was doing conditioning drills, and he passed out and obviously, unfortunately, passed away. And then there was a lot of controversy surrounding how it was handled, and the head coach, DJ Durkin, was placed on administrative leave. The strength coach, after an investigation, either resigned or was
Dismissed.
fired, however, dismissed. And they launched an investigation, which, to Maryland's credit, by everything you read, was really in-depth. They took a long time. They interviewed about 150 people. It took a few months for them to go through all this. And 2 days ago, on Tuesday or Wednesday, they had their press conference to announce the results of that. They determined that while Durkin had some responsibility in it, he was not as did not accept as much blame. Should not accept as much blame as was thrown on him. They reinstated him, and it caused a big uproar. And the next day, yesterday, Wednesday, he was fired by the president.
It didn't sit well with the players who said they weren't going to play.
Yeah, and it was, if you believe who you read, it was told that the Board of Regents kind of pressured the president and the AD to reinstate Durkin.
The money people.
Yeah, and that didn't last all but one day because it was just a terrible decision on their part to bring him back in the first place. It was handled unbelievably poorly, the press conference, and the right decision was finally made, but it's just a bad look for the whole thing has been a bad look for months now.
These are the same idiots that fired a very good man and a very good football coach in Randy Edsall. So maybe, and I hate that there's tragedy involved with a player death, and that's unfortunate, and that I wish could have been avoided, but the University of Maryland administration is really, I haven't think I've done the administration, and I guess it's a state school, the taxpayers and the students, they haven't done a lot of smart
think of the
things.
mentality when they initially reinstated him on Tuesday. Think of the mentality of what they were doing by letting the coach come back in, whose right-hand man, the first hire he had was the strength and conditioning coach, who was overseeing the spring drills, spring workouts, because coaches have limited access during the off season. So he was running the show. It was all done under DJ Durkin's.
It's on his watch. The head man. Buck stops there.
Watch his approval.
Wow.
And
even more reason that he needs to be gone. But
it happens. But how was he supposed to coach? Let's say he get reinstated. How was he supposed to go in a recruit's office, a recruit's home, and convince their son to come play?
You can't
for
tell. And before we leave this, because I want to get to the rankings, William Wilson, Alabama, shockingly, one of your favorite teams, the Crimson Tide from your Southeastern Conference, number 1, I believe. Clemson, number 2. LSU, surprisingly, 3, because I think Notre Dame's a better team. But they're going to settle it on the field between with Alabama and LSU, Will. You like the rankings? You like how they're going? And Arkansas's not in them, by the way.
Yeah, Arkansas won't be in it for a while. but it comes down to it, man.
Kevin Tolbert likes LSU.
When you get to the top, like Ric Flair said, you want to beat a man, you got to beat the man.
I heard that before.
Alabama is at the top, and somebody's got to knock them down. It is what it may. LSU may very well be the team to do it, but if and bust were candy and nuts, every day would be Christmas. If the king had balls, it'd be queen. If the queen had balls, it'd be king. At the end of the day, LSU won't be the man until they beat Alabama, because you don't play games on paper. You play them on the field.
Is that an Ed Orgeron statement? I can understand you saying it, but I've never heard some of these. These Arkansas
statements. I'm a well-traveled man. I'm a Navy man. I'm a well-traveled man.
It could have been an Ed Orgeron statement, but nobody would have understood it then.
Yeah.
Ed would say, like, that's how Ed would have said
guys like that on the submarines talk like that?
On submarines and other places in the world outside of North Carolina. There are 49 other states.
That's what I heard. You've been on you were on that submarine. What was it?
USS Scranton and USS Burgall.
There you go. So you get around. You fly Navy, you sail Navy, right? That's the old expression, right?
Well, it may be like 2 minutes old or 2 seconds old because you just made that up.
No, I used to remember those commercials, Fly Navy. That was like the big ad they had to recruit guys. That's how you probably signed up.
Well, that's probably a recruiting thing they use to get the pilots, because the Navy actually has more planes than the Air Force.
There you go. That's why you're here, Will.
I don't know.
You look good.
Between the Marines and our Navy pilots, I really don't know why we have the Army the Army and the Air Force. We really don't need either one of them. All we got is the Navy. That's all we really need.
Well, we got a Space Force now, from what I'm hearing. But in any event, college football. I like this. They're going to settle in on the field, and I think that Clemson. I think look very strong lately. They're coming on. That's a team in the ACC that could run the table, win it all, and I think they're going to have to. I like what they're doing. LSU, Alabama in the SEC West. The East is still wide open. I think Georgia goes to Kentucky this week, Mountaineer Mike, and it's going to get decided on the field.
That's going to be a huge, huge matchup. We talked about it. It's funny. We talked about 3 or 4 weeks ago about this potentially being the matchup that could decide the SEC East. It turns out it probably will be the winner of Georgia, Kentucky, and who would have thought that at the beginning of the year? And
I've been high on Kentucky all year.
The place is going to be rocking. It's going to be a really big moment for Kentucky football. And
they got a lot of bourbon up in Kentucky. I'm just saying.
Well, I'm saying they have a legitimate chance. Their defense is really tough. They caught a break of a
very good running back.
Benny Snell is top notch. This would be the game for him to really explode and make a national name for himself, because they know him in the SEC. He's been productive for years in the SEC, but this is going to be a really big defensive battle. Kentucky is the only team in the nation that hasn't allowed more than 20 points in the game. And on the other hand, Georgia is, I believe they won 18 in a row when they've held their opponent under 20 points. And Kentucky, for all their greatness,
Mike,
is not a great
did Georgia rotate their quarterbacks, or was there some discontent, at least temporarily, with their quarterbacking position?
I don't know if it was discontent. They had tried to get Justin Fields, a true freshman, into the game to mix it up with Jake Fromm. And Jake Fromm just playing really outstanding ball these days. He's just
they have the four games, right, that they can use the freshman, get him some time, and then
right. I don't know what the decision was made on field. I can't imagine he would be redshirted, and they're going to need his talent level you want to have down the stretch, I think. So I don't think it's going to be a situation where he gets redshirted, but he brought a nice mixture to what Fromm was doing. But Jacob Fromm he's completing about 70-something% of his passes. He had one bad game, and it cost him the game against LSU. I think he's having an outstanding season, and he's really played himself into the point where they don't have to bring in Fields. They don't want to bring in Fields.
Right. I think you're going to look at, and here's what would be interesting, if Kentucky keeps winning. I wonder my buddy Kevin Porter, who was for Kentucky basketball, but Clemson football, will be finally solidify on one team and stop this dual time nonsense that he's been doing. But we actually got our own, I think we got a precursor to the Army-Navy game working its way on, because Natasha Crawford apparently is an Army vet, and my buddy Kevin's an Army vet, and they talking all this Go Army stuff. So we may see a precursor.
Didn't Army take Oklahoma to overtime?
I'm from upstate New York. I'm about 40 minutes away from West
There you
Point.
go.
The Black Knights of the Hudson.
Absolutely.
There
Going
you
to
go.
another bowl. Third straight year they're going to a bowl. They got Air Force this weekend.
Almost beat Oklahoma.
They almost beat Oklahoma. It's not a fluke. They have done
But they're still going to lose to Navy.
well. They'd be snapping a losing streak then, Navy would, because they've
Can you
got
pronounce the guy?
Well, that's two. We had, 14 before
I know.
then?
I'm well aware.
So, like I said, Army's doing better. But here's the thing. We don't talk enough about the service academies.
Not enough.
We talk about all the big schools and all this stuff, but these guys are playing. The closest you'll get to really true loving football, or just amateur football, is Army, Navy, Air Force.
Air Force, and they all run the triple option or variations of it.
Yeah, but the thing is, these are guys that they know no matter how great they play, odds are they're going to defend the country when they leave. They're not going to sign a big lucrative contract. They're not going to hold out. They're going to go work for 4 years serving their country, or 8
Or
years
6.
or whatever,
And
and then maybe come back.
Yeah.
Roger Staubach will.
Here's the thing. That's an excellent point, because from just a recruiting standpoint, you got to understand, it is so difficult. It's difficult, I'm sure, for these academies these days to recruit into the military because of the way things.
Yeah.
It's hard. But now try and get a football team, a competitive football team, to recruit that way with all the things that are going on. It's really difficult. So when you get Navy having the run that they've had for years, when you have Army doing as well as they're doing, when you have Air Force that had so many great players and running the option as they do, that's really something special, because it is not like it was in the 40s and 50s. It is really difficult for these coaches and the academies in general to recruit quality kids, the right kids, for your programs.
Right, because you got to look at, not only do they have to be good athletes, they have to be academically superior as well.
They got to get into school first.
You got to get letters of recommendation, all this stuff, just to get accepted.
Exactly.
Right. Forget about how good you play football. They're not going to make an exception for you.
There's only so many people in that pool that you can recruit from that are qualified to go there.
Right.
And a lot of them, I would imagine, you mentioned academics, a lot of them, if they're really that good, maybe end up at Stanford, maybe end up at
Princeton, Northwestern, Yale. Exactly. Because they can still turn around. You could be a really great football player at Yale, not get recruited anyplace else, but turn around. But when you graduate from Yale, Princeton, Dartmouth, whatever, you're signing a six-figure deal, maybe a seven-figure deal coming out of school. So yeah, to get those guys, you're right, the best scouts, GMs, whatever, on the planet are the ones that get these kids, these good athletes, to go to Army, Navy, and Air Force.
And I don't want to slight Division III Merchant Marine Academy and Coast Guard Academy. I got, my son Adam, when he was playing in high school football, got besieged with letters from Coast Guard Academy and Merchant Marine Academy, Division III, and letters of recommendation and what do they call it, appointments will, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, those are guys that at the Division III level are doing the same things at that Army, Navy, and Air Force doing at the D1 level.
And now with the internet and all this stuff, a really good player in the D3, 20 years ago he had no chance of ever getting in the league. Now a really good D3 player,
Pierre Garçon,
Hall of
right?
Famer. Yeah.
Is that right, Mike?
Yeah, everybody gets seen nowadays.
Mount Union.
Everybody gets seen. If you're good, you're going to get noticed.
Right, which makes it even harder to recruit those guys to go to.
I agree.
To the service academies.
I absolutely agree.
All right, before we go to a break, we want to shout out to Sharon Eddington of Captured Photography, who's watching us, so we want to thank that. Mountaineer Mike, Charlotte Hornets, near and dear to your heart.
Yes.
It looks like the Kemba Walker show. It's a one-man gang, as we'd say in pro wrestling. So we got Hornets, some NBA, looks like some guys that are having good seasons already. Halloween costumes. Derrick Rose, your boy, 50 points last night.
And he played defense at the end.
Well, that won't last long, but we're here at the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill.
One night.
This is talking about sports.
At Heslop Wealth Advisors, our goal is to help small businesses develop quality retirement plans for their employees through our Lunch and Learn seminars. We provide lunch and learning tools to help your company succeed and unmatched customer service.
All right, welcome back to Talking About Sports. We're here at the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill with William Wilson, Mountaineer Mike Freer. The Charlotte Hornets look pretty good against Miami. I really think James Borrego really has this ball club looking well. I like the strategy. I think they're getting a lot of good contributions from Cody Zeller. They're playing a little smaller in some spots. Nick Batum actually earning some of his money. I really like what the Hornets have done so far. I just don't think you can sustain this type of an effort from Kemba Walker for 82-game season.
Oh, I agree. I agree with that. If you go historically or whatever, he's not going to be a 30-point night guy, and if he is, more power to him. I wish him nothing but the best as far as that goes. Yeah, they're 4-4, but it feels different than other years. Now they had their down, but the problem is with this style, you have to be able to shoot. So Kemba obviously you're consistent. You know what you're going to get out of him most nights. You're going to get a good shooting performance. You're going to get 20 to 30 points a night. It depends on, can I get everybody else in it? And It really falls on our guy there, Malik Monk, I think, to get that. There's really no other consistent outside shooting threat than Malik Monk. Jeremy Lamb has a chance. Nick Batum has a chance. You need the consistency every night. And if they get that, I like the style personally. You're going to see a lot of games where their defense, they don't look like they're playing defense, but that's the way the league is now. Yeah. The league is all about pushing the pace, pushing the tempo, and they're following the copycat routine that the Warriors did, that the other teams did, the Rockets. The difference is the Warriors had just Hall of Fame talent who can play defense. Now, do the Hornets have enough to
By the way, the Rockets look very bad. And
It's terrible right now.
So does the Oklahoma City Thunder. Our friend, my friend Chandra is a big Oklahoma City Thunder fan. She's not happy, but I think they're here in town. Are they here tonight? Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe it's coming up, yeah.
I think Oklahoma City's here in town, so sorry for Chandra that Oklahoma City is so bad, but the Rockets surprisingly will with Chris Paul and company. I think the Rockets have got it. They were 25-5 at one point last year. They've already lost 5 games so far. You can't blame it all on what's his name, Carmelo.
They can't. Well, I can do it.
Well, you can. You're a Knicks fan.
Right.
But
I agree with what Mike is saying, though. The Hornets right now, they're 4-4, they're 500, but it seems like there's different energy. They look different on the court. They look like they starting to look like they expect to win some games. They look interested. They look like they're invested in it. And I agree with you. If they get Malik Monk to get in to take some load off of Kemba, because if Kemba's scoring 30 points a night, the Hornets are not going to the playoffs. You can't sustain, your body can't sustain that kind of pressure, and your mind can't sustain that kind of just mental pressure for 82 straight games. And at some point, something's got to give. Malik could take a lot of that off of him and give a different dynamic. Malik's taller, he's stronger, and could do a little bit better post. He's not a really tall guy.
I think Malik Monk is benefiting from having Tony Parker in the locker room and at practice.
Absolutely. I think everybody's benefiting.
Exactly. I was going to say.
I think everybody's benefiting from Tony Parker. You watch the games, and you watch how he is on the bench, coming out of timeouts, talking to guys. He's really – I mean, they have enough veterans on the team between Kemba, Marvin Williams. MKG is even a veteran, even though he's barely 25 years old. He's been in the league long enough. Tony Parker – for whatever he's doing on the court as far as leadership, it's really rubbing off, I think, on the team.
Because it all comes down, we've talked about this before, respect. You know, there's veterans and there's old guys. The Panthers, I mean, the Hornets got some young old guys.
Yeah.
Tony Parker's a veteran. Tony Parker walks in with rings. These kids grew up watching Tony Parker. He's been in the league so long, they have a certain reverence and respect for him. When he walks in and says, this is what we need to do, because he played with Tim Duncan. He played with Denny Green. He played with, the Spanish dude that would dunk on you in a minute.
He played with
number
David
20,
Manu Ginobili.
Manu Ginobili.
Manu!
You know, he played with those guys. He could tell them, look, you ain't got to be fancy and flashy. Just do the fundamentals, and we can take home rings. Because the Spurs, for all their winning, may have been as exciting as watching Wood get old.
Oh, come on. Wood is. I like watching Wood get old.
Winning. Tony Parker brings that respect and that panache that makes these guys listen and buy in.
And on top of everything else, when he's in the game, he's being very productive.
Yeah.
Tony Parker. He's not just a guy on the end of the bench who's a cheerleader and a mentor.
ML
He's
Carr.
actually a real productive player on this team so far. Now, the more season goes on, if he keeps playing the minutes he is, let's see if he can sustain it, because he is getting up there in years.
Right.
But for the moment, he's having doing a great job as a backup.
Right.
The season is
planting
early.
Seeds.
It's his second year of his 2-year contract is not guaranteed, but I think if he sustains this effort, Tony Parker, they're going to pick up that option next year and keep him around.
Absolutely, but I don't. My thing is, again, not to harp on this, but I think it's very important. What Tony Parker is bringing to this team is something that can stay long after he's gone. If they pick up his contract or not, Tony Parker can impart wisdom and plant seeds in these guys this season that even if he's gone next year or here next year, can grow and flourish, and they can pass that down to the next one, can change the franchise.
And you can totally see with Borrego, you could totally see what they're trying to do with the lineups they have out there. They want horses. They want guys who can get up and down. That's why Frank Kaminsky, who was a solid, reasonable backup, got a lot of time last couple of years, his first years, he can't get on the court. Bismack is seeing a little bit more time.
Your guy, Bismack.
He's starting to see a little bit more time on the court, but he wants athletes. He wants guys who can get up. Dwayne Bacon is solid in college, but if he's not able to get up and down
the
rest of these guys, like Miles Bridges.
The guy's a ball player.
Yeah, I think he's going to be great. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, who gets sent to the bench, and instead of pouting about it, comes off the bench and is a major factor on this team.
He could anchor that second unit. He's a good defender, and he could be a key to that second unit.
This is a style that is perfectly suited for MKG to be able to get up and down the floor. You need him for his defense because he's still guarding point guards 1 minute and power forwards the next. So you still need him for his defense. But he can get up and down the floor, get him in transition, and he can get those layups. Still gets after the loose balls that keep things alive. I'm really enjoying watching him play in this system.
Right. I think what he's trying to do, Breg is trying to do, is basically make the Hornets the 2018 version of the old Razorbacks 40 minutes of hell. He's gonna make you run. If you're a big man, you can't run. At some point, you're gonna be done. They're gonna bring in guys that can. They're gonna have 2 full, or like remember the old Green Wave at Tulane?
Yes.
How they would just take 5 guys out and put 5 more guys in, and they could just, even if they can't score as well, they would run you to death. So you had to bring a deep bench. You had to bring a team that could score from everywhere. You can't just have these two or three guys that are superstars and a bunch of role players. In a year or two, the Hornets will make you pay if that's what you bring into their gym.
Did you guys see any of the Halloween costumes from some of the NBA guys?
I saw a little bit of what the Hornets did.
What was his name? Malik Monk? Was he the squirrel hunter?
Oh, I couldn't even tell you who anybody was, but I saw a picture of it on Twitter.
All right. They have LeBron James was Jason. Victor Oladipo is the Black Panther. Klay Thompson as the, I can't read Kevin Tolbert's writing, the Jackie Moon something, Tropicals, or whatever. Whatever that is. JaVale McGee, I believe, was the Grinch.
I didn't see any of them, so I can't say anything about it.
I didn't either.
Next subject.
That was Halloween. That was Halloween. That was yesterday. Today is All Saints Day.
But we're still talking about costumes. We better talk about the swag the swag off you're talking about before.
Your guy. I think, first of all, Cam Newton needs to show up at the William Wilson showroom and get a better look. That's just my opinion.
I wouldn't disagree with you, but he had to redo the whole look for my brand to be attached
You're classic.
to that.
You're a businessman.
Well, I'm a businessman. I like my clients come
Look
in.
at you. You can go anywhere. You can go to any boardroom right now.
But you know the thing was, they're talking about, Cam said something about he had more swag than Ryan Fitzpatrick, but he liked this beard. You guys heard me say numerous times when I'm traveling the country and people ask me where you from, I say I'm from Arkansas, but I live in North Carolina. The first thing they do is, dude, what's up with your quarterback?
Bring that hell
First word out. Saved by the bell.
Steak, we got nachos. We got some food coming
groceries. We got groceries.
Our man James King is. We understand his
everybody
wife.
Said Natasha Crawford says Cam has the swag. Here's what I say to every female that tells me Cam got the swag.
Chicken.
When somebody comes to your house to pick up your daughter dressed like Cam, and you let them leave the house, then tell me you like his swag. Now this has nothing to do with Cam. I think Cam is a great person. I think he's a good guy. He's a good guy in the community. He doesn't do stuff wrong.
Doesn't get a lot of publicity for being a good guy in the community, by the way.
But he doesn't get a lot of publicity on anything except when he does what he does on the field and when he goes to like the children's hospitals and things like this. But he's not a bad guy. He doesn't get in trouble. Cam is a good guy. I like Cam, and he's playing better. He's a better football player. Norvell Turner is making him an NFL quarterback that can withstand the test of time. He's learning to be a smarter quarterback.
I think he's having as good a season as he did in his MVP season. I really believe that. I think he can finish this year, if he keeps going the way he's going, he could have a season better than his MVP season. May not win the MVP, because Deshaun Watson down there in KC is making a strong case.
Pat Mahomes.
Pat Mahomes, excuse me. Pat Mahomes.
Deshaun Watson, I think, is doing a great job for Houston, too, by the way. I don't know if he's not with Pat Mahomes yet.
That's what I meant. Pat Mahomes at KC is making it strong. But I think Cam can finish this season having a better year than he did in 2015.
Exactly. And he can carry it on seasons and seasons. Cam is turning into a quarterback. He'll be turning into a better leader. He'll be able to just be an all-around better player. Like I said, he may not win the MVP, but he'll be a better player for the rest of his career thanks to North Turner.
You know what's really cool, real quick? You know what's really cool when you watch NFL over the years and you watch the veteran quarterbacks and you see the ones that put in the work to get better, and it comes so easy.
Drew Brees.
Ben Roethlisberger at Pittsburgh. It comes so easy now. Brady's been doing it forever. Cam can get to that level where it just comes easy for him. He's starting to get to that point because of the time he's been in the league and because of the work he's put in. He can be one of those guys, not a Hall of Famer, or he could be a Hall of Famer, but not an Aaron Rodgers type. But
I don't think he'd be a Hall of Famer. But I think
he could be.
He's still got time to get there.
At the end of the year, he could be. At the end of his career, you can see a guy who it's starting to become easy for him, and I think that's a testament to the work he's put in throughout his career.
Yeah, I agree, but I still think, like I said, North Turner will be the guy. If Cam makes the Hall of Fame, North Turner should introduce him.
All right.
because Norv is that guy that is taking Cam to another level. Norv Turner will take his athleticism and allow Cam to turn into a quarterback, teach him how to use his mind to control that body.
You know who introduced Troy Aikman at the Hall of Fame?
He did something.
Turner.
He should have.
Exactly.
But by the way, before we go to break, William Wilson, is cow milking a sport? Are cow milkers athletes? I was asked to ask you.
Look,
You're from Arkansas. You should know.
Look, they milk cows and others. Arkansas ain't known for dairy. That's a Wisconsin thing.
Well,
But
I was just told that. Don't hate the player,
but
hate the game,
but
man. I
here's-
was just asked to ask you that.
But here's my answer to that. If I can watch people play checkers and poker on ESPN, why not bring people on to milk cows?
That's it. That's all. That's all you got.
Hey, it takes more physical exertion to milk a cow than move a chess
I'm
piece.
pretty sure ratings plays a role in that decision as well.
Hey, you watch those World's Strongest Man
I
competitions?
do like that. Now that I do like World's Strongest Men. Now I will watch
they have
that.
World's Strongest Cows. I'll pay attention.
Hey,
So if you're-
P.T. Barnum said there's a sucker born every minute. No matter what
you
no
guys
matter
carry this on.
no matter what you're into, there's a market. No matter what you're into, if they started people milking cows, you know those people in flyover states and stuff that have those dairy farmers and
Right.
dairy areas.
Right.
Someone will tune in and watch it. It may
Right.
be at ESPN 3, but they'd watch it.
Pay-per-view. All right, we're coming back. We've got some NASCAR discussion and final thoughts. This is Talking About Sports from the Dilworth Neighborhood
Forgive me if
Grill.
I don't extend this conversation. Good God.
How did we get to milking cows?
At Heslop Wealth Advisors, our goal is to help small businesses develop quality retirement plans for their employees through our Lunch and Learn seminars. We provide lunch and learning tools to help your company succeed and unmatched customer service.
All right, welcome back to Talking About Sports with Mountaineer Mike Free and William Wilson. I want to pass along heartfelt condolences to the family of Willie McCovey and the San Francisco Giants organization. Lost Major League Baseball has lost a great man and a great ambassador of the game. Mike, we were talking about it off the air. A guy, and William Wilson, 521 home runs, 1,555 RBIs, a 270 career batting average, 1969 MVP. Still talks about, and I want to bring William Wilson in on this, still talks about he had runners on second and third in the 62 World Series, hit a ball that probably was going to be a base hit and win the game, but he talks about defeat, William Wilson. So how you feel about that? I mean, you talk about your Truck Series
Right.
you didn't win.
I remember this 2 seasons before we won the championship. We had a great season, great restarts, everything. All Ted needed was a good restart, and we're going to win that championship.
All right, 2 minutes. We got final thoughts after you finish your thought here.
Ted spun the tires. We lost the championship by 4/100ths of a second. I remember every second of that loss. 2 years later, we won the championship. I barely remember the championship.
If you win the
part
truck
of it.
race, do you get a clock?
If you do it in Martinsville.
Okay, just wondering. Mike, you got a final thought, or
Yeah, final thought. I'm going to give a shout out to my high school in upstate New York, New Paltz High School. They're playing this weekend for the Class A Section 9 football championship. They came in as a 6 seed. They've already beaten the 2 seed. They've already beaten the 3 seed, and now they play a school called Cornwall. Big surprise that they are in this spot, but big shout out to everybody who supports high school football up there in New Paltz. My old, is it an alma mater if you go to your high school? I know it is for college. Is it an alma mater? Then shout out to my alma mater.
all right? I want to say happy belated birthday to Sharon Tate of Sharon Tate Photography. Also, Connor Birchfield of Concord High and William and Mary, the NCAA's three-point shooting percentage leader in accuracy last year. First-round draft pick of the Austin Spurs of the G League, who are guaranteeing contracts. William Wilson.
Cool. And I'm gonna take my time for my thought of any thought, whatever. I want to give the William Wilson Fan of the Week to Natasha Crawford. She has been tuned in and involved all show.
She doesn't like Cam.
So thank you so much for that. She's been tuned in. She's been active. She's been participating in every aspect of it. So thank you very much.
All right.
Good job.
Say hi to Pam Rogers and Toya Goodwin. Thank you very much, Kevin Tolbert, William Wilson, Mountaineer Mike Freer. I'm Kevin Casey. This has been Talking About Sports.
Go New Paltz.
Go Hogs.